Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel and the latest edition of the Spurs Chat podcast, where today we'll be discussing Spurs away draw. Looked like it was going to be a loss for a little while, but away draw with Brighton today at the Amex. 2-2 it finished. No, we'll get into it. We'll get into it. A lot to discuss today. We're live on YouTube, X, and Facebook, so please do get involved. And let us know how you're feeling as a Spurs fan right now and your thoughts on the game, which, as I say, finished 2-2. Two first half goals from Brighton, from Minter, and a cracker from Ayari. And then Spurs came back into it in the second half with, at the end of the first half, of course, with a goal from Richarlison, giving us a bit of hope. And then an own goal from Van Hecker in the 82nd minute. Now, some stats about the game. Overall possession, Brighton had nearly 36%. Spurs had just over 64. XG 1.28 for Brighton, 1.22 for Spurs. Shots 12 from Brighton, 11 for Spurs, and on target 4 for Brighton and 3 for Spurs. Touches inside the opposition box. Well, Brighton had 17, Spurs had 44. Goalkeeper saves 2 apiece, 10 fouls committed by Brighton, 13 by Spurs. 2 corners for Brighton and 10 for Tottenham. And the Premier League table, second at the moment. That's not a bad look, is it? Let's hope it stays that way for the rest of the weekend. That'd be a nice way to finish the weekend. And with me, as always, Chris. Anybody asking, by the way, Chris is obviously at the Amex, making his way back up the M23. So you've got to put up with me today. I hope that's all right. So with me today, I've got 3 very special guests, as always. Ricky Norwood is back with us. How are you, Rick?
I'm good, my friend. I am good. Great to be on with you, beautiful people. Great to be on with Kate. Great to be on with Luke. And great to be on with all you beautiful people around the world. We're back with another one. Another game. It was a bit of a come-see, come-saw game today, wasn't it? So, yeah, some good, some bad, and a little bit of ugly. So I can't wait to jump into it and start breaking it down and look at more of the positives than the negatives. But the negatives can become a positive. And we'll talk and figure out how we can do that during this show. So cannot wait. Let's have it. Back in the game.
Back in the game, indeed. And we've got Kate back with us from Kate and Jimbo. Where's Jimbo, Kate? I thought he'd want to show his face today.
Jimbo's downstairs eating his chips, getting ready to watch Chelsea, Manchester United, or Manchester United, should I say. But it's great to be back, obviously, with Ricky, Luke, and yourself. I predicted a draw today. My husband told me I was a disgrace and that I was negative because he predicted a 3-0 win. So, look, it was exactly as I thought, and good mentality from the boys to come back from a 2-0 down deficit.
Absolutely. I thought so as well. I mean, I just had a horrible feeling about that game today after we went 2-0 down. We've seen it before, haven't we? It was kind of reverse almost of last time out of the Amex. It was, where I thought, oh, we've got this in the bag. And then you just got that horrible feeling in the second half that they were going to come back into it. And, of course, they beat us. But unfortunately, we couldn't get the win today. But to be honest, I'll take a point from that after seeing the game as a whole. Luke, me and you haven't met, I don't think. First time with you on the podcast. How are you today?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on. Pleasure to be on with everyone and to meet Craig and Ricky. Yeah, all good, all good. I definitely think that maybe at the start of the game you might not have taken a 2-2 draw, but when you add all of the different facets of the game, going 2-0 down, showing that sort of mentality, I definitely think you can take some positives from it for sure.
Yeah, I 100% agree that I did start to think towards the end of the game, oh, this is terrible. But then I thought, no, actually, we've shown a bit of character here to come back from 2-0 down. So let's come on to that, Rick. What was your overall thoughts on today's game?
You know what, Craig? Firstly, I think that Brighton have got a very good team and they're a very tricky side. Always have been, ever since they've been back in the Premier League. They always have been a very tricky side. And I don't think we can take wins for granted or kind of expect wins over Brighton like that. So I knew it was going to be a battle today. I felt that we started the game really, really strong. We was on the front foot. we were showing our aggression. We were showing our drive and our energy. You know, we had the mighty Bergvall all over the pitch, left, right, and centre. And then they end up scoring, and it almost takes the wind out of ourselves. And then they just grew into the game. They showed their physicality. You know, I've spoken a lot about Tottenham's physicality and their strength that they've shown ever since Thomas Frank has turned up, and with the new recruits in the starting 11. But wow, man, they showed their aggression, they showed their tenacity, they showed how they break. You know, on their first breakaway, on their first opportunity, they score, they get in behind and score, and you could see them kind of growing into the game. And you know, then there's a worldie and it's 2-0 down, and you're like, oh, and it did take the wind out, but then we saw the fight back, and that's what I like to see. You know, it's been great the start of the season so far. You know, clean sheets, wins, only one loss. But today, up against a side that had some of the same tools as us. You know, they had technical players. They had guys that can strike a ball. They had the tenacity. They had their strength. They had their physicality. They had all of these things that we've been bringing to the table recently. And it was a good matchup to see how we fared. But you saw as soon as it went 2-0 down, it wasn't a drop the heads. It wasn't a give up. It wasn't, start looking at the others. Oh, it's not my fault. It's his fault. It's not his fault. It's that, start pointing fingers. It wasn't that. There was a collective effort to go, no. Let's show this team what we're about. We're Tottenham Hotspur here, and we've come to play, and we're going to show you. And seriously, up until they scored the first one, it was all in our hands. And I felt that it would have been like a 2-3 3-0 win for us at that point. But it was 2-0 down, and then we got to see that fight back. We got to see the leadership from Romero and those senior players in the side. Paulinho all over the pitch, Like I say, the beautiful Archie Gray, and we kept pushing towards the end of that first half, and we kept pushing. And we looked like the ones that were more likely to score. And we did. And in going into that second half, I felt, they had some counterattacks and they had some breakaways, but the majority of it, we were hungry to not only equalize, but to go out there and win the game. So there was a lot of heart, there was a lot of determination, there was a lot of fight shown. And what was one of my favorite things to see was the players that came off the bench. Xavi comes off the bench, makes a difference. To even bring on Johnson, who didn't have too much touches on the ball or anything like that, but at the same time, he's another one that comes on and starts stretching the play. Bring it. Giving Spence a rest. He's been playing on the left, and to be able to rest him and start your doggy today, I thought that was a strength in ours. And even when it was time to bring on Spence, they brought him on and started him on the right hand side. And to me, I know he's the right back, but he looks weaker on the right back slot than he does on the left back slot. And they ended up swapping. Your doggy and Spence ended up swapping for those last 5 minutes. So these are the tools that we've got in our box. These are the players that are here ready to fight and show us. And we've got so many variations right now to bring out and to use. And we done it, and we used them, and we brought it back to a 2-2. Who was the ones pushing for the third goal right at the end? It was us. Listen, Brighton could always counterattack. They could always, mount an attack and kind of cut through the defense or put a through ball through for one of their tricky wingers. But we was up for that fight, and we wasn't going to concede another goal. We were either going to get the draw or go and score another one. And okay, cool, we come out with the draw. So plenty of lessons to take from it. I wasn't upset. I wasn't a little bit frustrated. I wasn't upset or angry, but I was a little frustrated. But to see that fight back, I think is a positive sign. And Brighton are going to hurt a lot of teams this season, not just us. We had the same reaction after Bournemouth. That's why I asked for calm. But we had the same reaction after Bournemouth. We should have beat Bournemouth. Bro, Bournemouth have had a storm of a start, and they've caused a lot of teams problems, including Liverpool. You know, they cause them a lot of problems. So I think this is one of those where we go, okay, we'll take the draw, but plenty of lessons to learn. Obviously, need more shots on goal. Obviously, like today, I don't think Vicario had the greatest of games. So there's definitely room for improvement, but we come away with a point. And at this present time, we're second in the table. So how can you complain with that?
Exactly. We are second in the table indeed. Kate, what were your thoughts on the game today?
Well, I can complain, Ricky, because I can always find something to complain about.
Do you know what, Kate? Can I just say one more thing, Do you know what? In
Yeah.
Kate's intro, this is what kills me, right? In Kate's intro, she was talking there about Jimbo, about watching football downstairs and eating his dinner. And, and her calling the draw and her getting it in the neck. But then he calls a 3-0 win, and that's a positive. But she was like, yeah, well, I was right in the end. It was always the way, innit? You know what I mean? The missus is always right, So I love how she just she snuck it in there, I heard you, Kate. I heard you.
Yeah, it had to go in there. I was right again. But look, I've got to start off with it. It was a great performance in the fact that we were 2-0 down and we came back. I've got to first of all say, if I've learned one thing from this game, it's that Richarlison is not the guy. I think this guy is terrible. He had that little purple patch at the start of the season. He scored a couple of worldies, and I started to think, wow, if Frank can keep this guy fit, we're going to have a real player. But he's just gone back to being the Richarlison that we know, and I would say love, but I don't love him at all. So that was my first thing I've got to say. But getting rid of that and the negatives, I thought it was, like Ricky said, their heads didn't drop. They're 2-0 down. It was against the run of play, their first goal. The second goal, Vicario should have done better. I mean, it was a good strike, but, Vicario definitely should have done better there. But we showed real grit to come back and get a 2-2 draw against a very good team. It's not only that Brighton are a good team, they're at home, they're very well drilled, very well organised. I do think substitutions maybe could have happened a little bit sooner, because we saw when Xavi Simons come on, the whole game changed. He played quite defensive with having Bentancur and Paulinho in. Paulinho again, I just can't say how much I love this guy. He's just made such a difference to our team. But look, like I say, you're going to get games where you grind out results. Once upon a time, if we went 2-0 down, you would just know that it's going to be 3-4, 5-0. Whereas we've come back and got a draw. As we said before, we went 2-0 up before and they came back and beat us 3-2. So it's a complete change of mentality. Only positive things to say about Richarlison, really. I just think we're in the right direction. There's just a few little tweaks. Not sure Odebert is the guy either. I think we need better on that side. But saying that, with what we've got and with the situation we were in, you've got to be happy. I thought it'd be a draw, like I say, before the game even kicked off. And I think, like Ricky says, I'm getting it in again, Ricky. I'm getting it in again. For the most part, I do think we were the better team. I don't think we ever really looked in trouble as such. It was just getting the ball in the back of the net. If we can sort that problem out, I think we're going to cause a lot of teams a lot of problems, to be honest.
Yeah, Luke, what are your thoughts on the game today?
Yeah, I mean, a great summary from both. I hope my wife's not watching, because Ricky just said that Wav's always right, and I'm not going to hear the last of that one. So I hope she's not watching. If she is, love ya, and you're sometimes right. No, yeah, I completely agree. I think the summary was really, really good. In terms of, as I said before, like when you go away and you go 2-0 down, we seem to in the fan base, and I'm guilty of it as well. It's everyone, that we just seem to think that we're a better team, we should win, but we've got to take into context different factors, right? And being away from home, you go 2-0 down. You then have to see where you are as a team and what you can do and everything else. So we didn't falter under that. It didn't slip away. We didn't get into a situation where we was all over the place. I think we gradually got back into it. I think there was a couple of decent performances in there, or snippets of a decent performance, but none of the performances that we've had this year have shocked me in terms of what's happened. I knew that Frank was going to come in and make us better defensively. I knew that we had a good enough defensive unit to be good However, in the attacking third, the players are not to the level that we need, and we need them on form. All of them need to be at their very, very best to really impact games. But we had so many problem areas over the summer that we had to fix. We was never going to fix them all, right? You can't go in and fix every single position. You can't do that. And unfortunately, Kate's exactly right. That left-hand side and up front, particularly at this moment in time with players still coming back from fitness or getting fit, has proved pretty difficult at this moment in time. I'm sure we're going to talk about it in a little bit more detail. I do think that there were a little bit of errors in different places from either what the team selection was, what the changes that took place. But then there was also stuff that worked quite well. So all in all, listen, you can pick negatives and positives in every game, right? There's always going to be places that we can improve. But I think that to go away and to draw Brighton away you're not going to get to the end of the season and go, yeah, we that's where we lost it. That's where we didn't make top four, or that's where it's not one of those games. There will be, as Ricky said, there will be teams that go to Brighton and lose. There will be teams that go there and really struggle. And we just need to accept that as long as we're winning our home games, which is, I think, is really, really key. If this was a home game, maybe we'd have a different attitude. But yeah, in terms of the summary, as I say, I think there were some positives, there were some negatives, but I think with the negatives, it's kind of, I think that's where we're at this moment in time for, as I said, for a number of reasons.
Yeah, I agree with most of what you said there. Look, to be honest with you, looking at the result, I don't think it's a bad result at the Amex. I mean, Brighton have stumbled a little bit. Obviously, they beat Manchester City earlier in the season, but we beat City. That's not saying City are a poor side, but they were definitely going through a couple of weeks of un-City-like performances, I suppose. So, I don't think this is a bad result on paper when you just look at it. I just think, there was a couple of things that, like you say, went wrong today. And let's stay with you, Luke, actually talking about the lineup today. And it's kind of coming on from what you were saying about selections. And some of them were forced, of course, because Randall Cullen, he's got a dead leg, so couldn't take part today. So we started with Vicario. I hate the way they do this, by the way, in number order. I wish they'd go back. So we got Vicario, Palhinha, Richarlison, Udogie, Bergvall, Romero, Kudus, Pedro Porro, Odegaard, Bentancur, and Van der Ven, Kinski, Danso, Javi, Tell, Gray, Johnson, Spence, Sarr, and Scarlett on the bench. And this probably, I much prefer this lineup. So Luke, what did you make of this starting 11?
Yeah, I must say I was surprised that Xavi wasn't included. I know that we obviously have a game midweek, but you would expect, I expected that was the game that maybe he would get a rest in if a rest was needed. Obviously, we don't know the ins and outs, whether there's a little injury there, whatever. But I really felt like this was the perfect opportunity to almost play Xavi Simons in the 10 as well. I was discussing it on stream yesterday. Funnily enough, we was discussing the different options. I thought Odegaard might come into the team this week. I really thought that, and I thought Xavi Simons would end up taking the 10 role. And then you've got a good base of Palhinha and Bentancur who are going to be solid enough to be able to cover your defensive areas. So that Udogie, I felt that that with the three fullbacks that we've got, there's always going to be rotation. And I've been saying it, it wouldn't surprise me if every single week one of the fullbacks was being subbed off, because I know that Frank come out and said that we've got 4 great fullbacks, but I think we've got 3 very good ones. And if we get an injury, then it could really impact the way that we sort of play. So I was expecting Udogie to come in either for Porro or Spence. It wasn't. It was one of them that was going to go out. But other than them two, they were the only kind of. I thought Porro might be the one to sit out personally. But other than that, that was the big one. Simons for me, I thought he would end up taking that 10 role. I thought it was almost the perfect opportunity to play him there. So that was the only surprise for me. And then Mawani, it's just typical Spurs, right? He's missed one game from an injury his whole career. He comes to Spurs, plays 20 minutes, and he's ruled out the next game. So yeah, it's a bit of typical Spurs there.
It certainly is. Ricky, Luke makes a good point there actually about dropping Porro or Doggy. I had a feeling that Udogie was going to come in today. But it's weird, isn't it? Because it seems like Frank hasn't got the option still to drop or not rotate. Shall we use the word rotate? Both fullbacks like Porro and Udogie, if he wanted to rotate both of them. Yes, he's got Ben Davies, but people would generally see him at the moment as a fill-in at centre-back. So it seems at the moment you've got to play one or the other, haven't you?
Yeah, yeah, but even so, Craig, you want as close to your best lineup, your best back five, including the goalkeeper, going up against a team like Brighton. You do. So you don't, even if we could rotate the lot of them, I don't think that it would have been a good idea to do it today. I think that they've got really tricky wingers, Brighton, and so you want the best up against the best, and that's where the kind of, I get the Spence rotation, and I get your doggy starting. We're working your doggy back into the team, getting his fitness up, getting his minutes up, but Spence would have loved it up against Minter today. He would have absolutely loved it, and I think it probably would have been a different battle. But at the same time, we know how good your doggy is. And I have a feeling that he's going to be fantastic. He's going to be an absolutely close to world-class, if not world-class left back, given it a couple of years. His trajectory has been immense, but it's just, niggles and injuries and certain things that have slowed him down. And it's made his progression stunted. It's stuttered. So we still need your doggy to get back up there. So I totally get the rotation with your doggy today. But Spence would have loved it. And when it comes down to Porro's an absolute machine. We saw that he played near enough every single game last year. I think he was the only one that wasn't out injured at any time last year. So he's a crossing machine as well, isn't he? You can see he loves a fight. He loves a battle. I think, every season, I think he gets better at his defending. We brought him in as a right wing back, and we've put him into the right back slot. And you can see under every different coach, his defending and his level of protecting his other centre back, which is normally Romero. He's doing that a lot more. He's taking a lot more responsibility. So it's one of those. So, yes, of course, we would love to have that squad where we can do a full rotation. But even if we could today, I still wouldn't have done it. I still would have gone as close to as my strongest lineup as I could, because just Brighton, it's what they've done today. It's what they've done today. I mean, look at that. They was not in the game for a long time, and then their first breakaway score. Ran the keeper and score. And the second goal, absolute worldie. And to Vicario's, to give benefit of the doubt, it was a bit slippery. I'm trying to be good to him. It was a bit slippery, but at the same time, I still think that he should have done better with that. So I totally get what you're saying, and I'm 100% with you, Craig. On the rotation side of things, I would have loved a proper another right back or a left back ball in the summer. But as Luke said earlier, you can't kind of fix every problem in one window, unless you're Liverpool, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. It does make you a bit jealous, doesn't it? It does make. The thing is, though, we've got the money, but that's for another show. Let's not get into the transfers today.
To be fair, I was going to say, to be fair, Liverpool didn't get their defence sorted, so even they couldn't do everything.
Well done.
Exactly.
She's right
exactly. Yeah, I mean, if Van Dijk or Konate gets rotated or injured, they've I wouldn't say they've got a problem, but they're weaker, definitely. Kate, what about Sarr? What's Sarr done to deserve being dropped from this team? Or do you think it was just simply that he was rotated and he's going to play in the week?
First of all, I had a big smile on my face because I just saw that Chelsea's goalkeeper's been sent off, which is always nice to see. Look, we had the discussion. Yeah. We had the discussion on, I think it was a pre-match pump-up a couple of weeks ago, that Sarr's probably the first name on the team sheet. And to be honest, I think we missed him today. Brighton are very front-footing, they're very dynamic going forward, and I think we missed that athleticism from Sarr. However, at the same time, you've got to rotate the players, and I think it was purely a rotational thing that he did. But this just wouldn't have been. I would have started Sarr over Bentancur, I think. but hindsight's a wonderful thing. And you know, who am I to say? I'm not Thomas Frank, and I don't know anything more than he does. It's just how I saw it. I was surprised, like Luke, that Xavi Simons didn't start, but I thought when he came on, he was excellent. And I know a lot of people are saying he's lightweight, he needs to buff up. And, you know, at the end of the day, Modric was extremely lightweight. I don't think it's a case that he needs to sort of physically get bigger. It's just he's got to get used to the physicality of the Premier League, which will come. And I think anyone who watched him today could see that the minute he came on, he made a massive difference. So that was the only thing. I think it was a lot more defensive lineup than I expected with Palhinha and Bentancur starting. However, you are playing Brighton away. We haven't got a brilliant record against them. And like I say, they're very front-footed, so I can understand why he did it. We haven't really got much choice but to play Richarlison, unfortunately. Solanke's still out. Mawani had a dead leg. We only had Richarlison or Dane Scarlett. A lot of people have been saying Odegaard needs to run in the team. I wasn't impressed with him at all. But I thought on the bright side, I thought Kudus again looked very, very good. I think we've got a really decent player there. And yeah,
he's playing a lot of minutes, though, Kate, isn't he? Because we've not got anybody else like him. That's my concern, but you know.
I would think they'd rest him against Doncaster. I would hope so, that he will get a rest midweek. But yeah, this is the trouble. This is where our squad depth comes into question, because when you get, well, not when, if, let me say if, we get an injury to a Kudus or even a Van de Ven Romero, even though we've got Danso, the drop down in quality is unbelievable. And it's been like that for a long time. And it's just something that we will hopefully fix. But as Luke said, you can't do everything in one window. So we've got Kudus now, and he's great. We just got to hope that he stays fit and manages minutes. Exactly the same with Palhinha. We've got to manage his minutes as well. But Jim, you know, I didn't look at the lineup and think, oh my God, it was just little things. But, you know, I trust Frank implicitly. You know, I know a few people have said he got it wrong. I don't think he got it wrong. I think he plays how he sees it. He tries different things. That's why we like him, because you never know what you're going to get. You never know what formation or who's going to be playing at the sort of in the midfield. So who knows? Yeah. If he'd have started Simmons, would we have won? Who knows? You know, I don't know the answer.
And like you say, Kate, I mean, look, just showing the league table again for listeners on audio. Spurs are second as it stands. Obviously, there's some teams in and around us that have got games still to come this weekend, but you take that. If somebody had offered you that table after 5 games, we'd all probably took it, wouldn't we? After the way last season's league finished, anyway, you know. So
yeah, especially knowing that we're playing against Brighton away in there, Man City away in there. You know, I think it's a great start for Thomas Frank.
100% agree, Kate. Right, let's come on to the match incidents. We'll come to you, Luke, for this, because the first goal was after 8 minutes. I mean, before then, I've written down an opening few minutes, good start for Spurs with Udogie getting in a few times down the left. I don't know about you, Luke, but I was quite impressed on the whole with Udogie today. I thought he was up and down that left wing quite a lot and supplied some good crosses and made some good runs there. Different player to Spence, but he certainly seemed fit today.
Yeah, I actually think Odegaard and Udogie kind of formed a good little relationship, to be honest, considering they haven't really played that much. I think that the part of the not criticism, but I think where we've lacked a little bit this season is that we played obviously Simmons on the left and Spence on the left, and they're both right-footed. They're both coming in field, and it meant that we lacked a little bit of width in my eyes. And I think Udogie and Odegaard managed to hold that width a little bit better, which meant that you're able to then dominate in other areas of the pitch and have a little bit more freedom. I thought Udogie had a very, very good start. Great start, and then obviously they get their goal from his position, and it's kind of like, is that if Spence was there, okay, he might not have been as good going forward, but actually, would we have conceded that goal? I'm not so sure. Obviously, it's all hypotheticals at that point, but I did like the way, and I think how dynamic he is. The three fullbacks we've got have got skills in certain areas. They're all very different to each other, and I think it's really, really good to have a manager like Frank that will look at different games. I actually said that I think Porro would be one of our best players this year, because I think that either way that he's played, whether he's played as the wing back that goes up really wide, his crossing ability is superb, his passing ability is fantastic, and even if he's one that sits a bit deeper and he sits more with a centre back, then the ball's over the top where Rossar was running onto him earlier on in the season, Berival will be running onto him. I think he could end up being really, really like either way that he's played. But then that means that Spence is obviously brilliant defensively. So if you're playing against a Mo Salah, you're playing against the top wingers in the league, then you might want to bring him in. So I think it's really good to be able to have that. And I think in certain areas, I think we as fans need to get out of this whole the best 11. So our two fullbacks should be starting in every game. Frank's going to be adapting every game who he's coming up against. We're going to have games this year where we'll be playing like Burnley at home and then go and play Real Madrid away 3 days later. You're not going to want the same makeup in midfield in both of them games. You're not going to want your fullbacks to do the same things in those games. So I think the whole rotation part we need to get used to, because that's going to have to happen. You don't have a first 11 really anymore. There's probably 3 or 4 that you can say absolutely a guarantee to play week in, week out. But especially at the level that we're at, some of them are going to have to kind of be moved around, and there'll be someone coming in where you might be a little bit of surprise, like today, for instance. But yeah, I think the start to the game, it was really, really good. I think Spurs were in the ascendancy the whole time, looked like they were progressing the ball, holding width, and then you just get done on that counter attack, which was literally a shirt sleeve onside. If they would have been 2 centimeters the other way, they're offside, and then all of a sudden you're not 1-0 down. The game don't have to change, that sort of thing.
Well, that's it. I'll just stay with you then, Luke, for this goal. As you say, very, very tight offside decision. That's obviously the picture on screen is just after the ball's left his foot. But just talk us through this goal. Well, who was at fault for this? Was it the whole team pushing up too high? Because I'm not sure. I think Van der Ven was up the pitch at the time because he was nowhere.
Yeah. I think, again, this comes down to relationship building. So you've got Van der Ven, who looked like, I think he was the one that was pressing the guy that got the assist. Udogie wasn't with his man. I think it was Odegaard that was in the almost left fullback position. So again, it comes down to these relationships, right? If Spence, so on screen, you've got Odegaard in the left back position now. Spence probably would have been in that position because he's not as forward player as Udogie is. But again, it comes down to that relationship, right? As I say, Van der Ven's played with Spence there. Van der Ven's aware that Spence defensively is quick. He's in good positions. He's good defensively one-on-one. So him going forward and really trying to press the attacker is normally, if the ball's in behind, Spence is there to kind of counteract that. But again, you're playing with different players. It's not that he's never played with Udogie, but you're kind of getting up to speed and everything else. And it kind of did come out of the blue, as I said. I think it was their first shot on target. It was the first time where they really kind of opened us up. I know it's only 7 minutes in, but it kind of really, kind of shocked me. And I did think at one stage it was potentially going to be offside. As I said, the replay that they showed you just showed that it was very, very close to being offside.
Yeah, I mean, he did finish it well, though, to be fair, Minter.
Yeah.
Just showing on screen now, obviously clear and far away. Nearest player was Romero in the end to him, I think. And he had to either shoot early or go round Vicario, and went round Vicario and slotted it in. Rick, what did you make of this goal? Coming around to you on this, I think Luke makes some really good points there. As you can see, Van der Ven pressuring the through ball there, so you're kind of left Odegaard, as Luke said, in the left back position. I think it was the fact that Tottenham really were having the lion's share of possession, and we were just done on a counter attack, weren't we? Really.
Yeah, I mean, we was in the ascendancy. We was in, we had confidence going forward, and it was very quick play by Brighton, turning a quick pass into the path of Minter, who used his pace and strength to get it up the field and then get it around Vicario. But I think Luke makes some great points there. That really and truly, it's either Spence that's going to be looking after Minter, or it's Van der Ven, who is our pace merchant, who kind of covers us for moments like this. It was one of those where I think that the confidence in our play, and we were, like I say, in the ascendancy and looking like we was the ones that was going to score. And we looked in control. And I think it caught us off guard, and it was a quick pass. And it's one of those. It's a lesson that I think Thomas Frank and the analysis team will look at it and go, it's great that we've got this structure. It's great that we've got this platform. It's great that we've got a defensive line that you can trust, but that doesn't mean you can switch off, you know? And there are plenty of quick, tricky wingers in the Premier League, and stuff like this can happen. So it's another lesson for the boys. But it was good play by Brighton. They've got good players. They haven't just been promoted. You know, you're on mute, Craig, just to let you know. But you know, they haven't just been promoted. You know, what was you saying, bro?
No, they're no mugs. That's all I was saying. Absolutely, Brighton are not. They've been around the block, haven't they? And they cause teams a lot of problems at the Amex. And so perhaps we're, like me, I include myself in this, being a bit harsh, thinking we should have done better today. Should have got the win essentially, but it's not a bad result, is it? Let's face it.
It's not a bad result at all. But quick play by them. They saw the gap. They made it happen. They gave it to a player that had pace and strength, and that could put it away and it could finish his dinner. But look how many chances we did have. All right, maybe not enough shots on goal, but we had a plethora of chances. Bergvall today should have scored. There were two cutbacks at least that he had in the box that, it was just unlucky. It was either dunk or he was just a little bit late. The amount of deflected shots that went off for a corner, we were on it. We were on it. It's not like
What do you make of Bergvall, Rick, actually? So you brought up Bergvall there. What do you make of Bergvall's performance today? Because a few people were criticising him, saying he was quite off it today. I didn't think he was terrible.
No, I think it's the sign of a young player. I think he's got bags of energy. I think he's going to be a really special player. I think he is a really special player right now, but he's going to be an absolute phenomenon, I think. There's something in that young boy that is... You can see he loves to play. He loves to wear the shirt. He loves to have a little bit of responsibility. He wants to be that guy. Even when things didn't come off today, he kept going. So whether that was picking up the ball and driving the ball forward and trying to make things happen, little 1-2s, he kept going. Whether it was the runs, whether the ball came or it's either the ball didn't come when he made the run, or when it did come, he was either just behind it, just too much in front of it. And that comes with timing. That comes with rhythm. And I think he's getting there. I wouldn't discount Bergvall. I think he's going to be another important player for us. Another young one that is going to have dips, that is not going to have the best of games at times. That's going to happen. It's about what he takes from that. It's about what lessons he takes from that. It's about how he reacts to disappointment or to not scoring or not... But he kept going. Even when he was subbed, he ran off. Do you know what I mean? Like, he still had the energy in his bones to be like, all right, and let's get it. Let's go. Let's do it. So I think there's so much to come from him. Of course, we can criticize him. Of course, you can criticize him and say, okay, yep, you should have got that one on target. Yep, you had enough chances today to score at least one. You can say these things. But it's don't go too harsh on him. He's another young one that is played in the Premier League. You got to look at his trajectory from where he's come from. Even last year he came in with a manager in Ange who was the one that basically convinced him to sign for us. Said he was going to get minutes. Said, come to Tottenham, we'll look after you. And was put through the fire last year. Put through the fire. There was so much responsibility and kind of pressure that was put on his shoulders to be that guy. And he grew last year and was forged in fire. We've been on these pods for a long time. We know what a sorry state the league was last year. There were times where I didn't, I'm like, no, I can't do this week, man. I can't do this week. I'll see you for the cup games, all right? I will see you for... Like, it got to that point where I couldn't... There was nothing more that I could say. But Bergvall played every one of those cup games last year, the Europa League games last year, up until his injury. You know, grew week in, week out. If you remember, and I know some memories are short, but we were devastated that he wasn't available for the semi or for the final. And that's, you know, who did we lose? We lost all our creative hubs at that point, didn't we? We lost Maddison, we had no Kulu, and Bergvall was the one that was stepping up. And you could see he was becoming a nuisance, and you could see the quality shining through. And we missed him. We missed him. And we were all crying for him last year. So he's come back off of injury. We've bedded him in. We've seen him score a great goal against West Ham. He started his first Champions League game, which must have been special for him. And then he started today in the 10 to try and be that creative spark. And you know what? If it wasn't for a couple of centimetres, he probably would have done it one way or another. So I would say, okay, cool. Critique him. He's going to make mistakes. But don't start hating on him. Don't start, condemning him to the rubbish pile, because he is far, far, far from rubbish.
No, absolutely. Well, next sort of bit of action, I wrote down 20 minutes, a good run by Richarlison and crosses to nobody. Kate, we'll come around to you, because I can see you're itching to talk about Richarlison. So do you want to talk about a little bit about Richarlison? Because after that, I was like, what was that? I couldn't. I don't know if you can remember the incident. He'd actually done the first bit well, but actually lean on to that before I set you off. Pedro Porro played a lovely about 60-yard crossfield pass to Richarlison, and he fires wide. He didn't even hit the side netting. So talk to us about Richarlison. What do you make of him as a player and his performance today?
I can't believe that it's the year 2025 and I'm talking about Richarlison being our striker at Spurs. It's such a fall from grace, I never wanted this guy ever. And like I say, when he scores those couple of worldies at the start of the season, you go, wow, this is a Richarlison we've been waiting to see. It's a World Cup year. He's going to do it. And then he just goes back to being the Richarlison that we know, who's not actually Brazilian. He comes from Bradford or somewhere. But look, he had a particularly terrible game. And one thing that I always say about Richarlison is he plays with his heart on his sleeve and he works hard. I don't even think he did that today. He was jogging around the field. There was no urgency. He went back to the Richarlison of old, whereas anyone even went by him, he fell on the floor and was rubbing his back or rubbing his head. Porro's cross was immense, and it was wasted on Richie, and these are the times where I think if we had a top striker, now I'm not saying Solanke is a top striker, but he is a level up to Richarlison in every way possible, in my opinion. And I know there's people in the chat that don't like what I'm saying about Richarlison. I'm sorry, until someone can tell me anything different or show me anything different as to why this guy should be the main striker at Spurs, I don't know what to say. He was losing balls. Even the goal that he scored, I know I'm jumping ahead to 40 odd minutes now. I could have scored that. It basically just bounced in off him. It was just the right place, the right time. The first time he tries to hit it, or when he tries to hit it, it bounced into the keeper's hands and the keeper it went through his hands. So, look, I just want better for my club. We've gone from having the likes of Kane and Sonny up front. We've gone from having the likes of Defoe, of Keane, of all these Berbatov, all these strikers, and we're sitting having to watch Richarlison, and he's just nowhere near good enough. I don't think he walks into any top 10 team in the Premier League. I'm not even sure if he walks into any team in the Premier League, and it's harsh. And as a guy, I think he's great, and I love the fact that he plays for the badge. But yeah, I'm not a world-class striker, but I don't get paid thousands and thousands of pounds to be a world-class striker. I'm just going to put that out there. I just think in January we really, or I know it's difficult in January, but we really need to be trying to improve on this guy, because when you've got someone like Porro delivering in those balls, and I think Porro is the unsung hero for Spurs. He's one of my favourite players by a mile. It's just wasted. It must be so frustrating when he puts in a ball like that and Richarlison can't even get it on target. So I hate to be the one who moans, and I'm quite happy for anyone to tell me I'm wrong, but this guy literally has me pulling my hair out. I had brown hair before Richarlison signed for Spurs. I'm just going to put it out there. So did Ricky.
It's true. It's true. But you know what, Craig or panel, Luke,
Kate, you're not wrong, because it's an opinion. It's an opinion.
But did he get injured in the warm up? I kept hearing he got injured in the warm up and then he started. Yeah. So I don't know. And he played the whole game.
Yeah, he's done his knee. He looked like he was hobbling quite a bit as well. I don't know how bad the injury was, but he was hobbling.
Well, maybe that's why he was only jogging today and not giving it his all. But I mean, we had Scarlett on the bench. Why the hell are we starting Richarlison then? I mean, I'm not a fan of Scarlett either, but why are we playing someone who's injured? That's
the thing, though. That's the thing, though, Kate. You're not wrong in what you say. It's your opinion. So nobody's opinion is wrong. It's just an opinion, right? And I can see in the comments here that it's probably about 50-50 people saying that Richarlison's the best option we've got at the moment. Possibly, I can't agree with that, because I think Richarlison does a better job than Tell in the number 9. But I'm firmly with you. I don't think Richarlison's the answer. I don't think. Somebody said even I had here. So yeah, that's I don't know about that. I forgot what I was saying there. Well, I don't think he's the. He's never going to get you more than 13, 14. I think I think I'm right in saying he's record in Premier League goal scoring 13.
Yeah.
So, and how old is he? 28, Richarlison. So he's not. He should be at his peak now. But I just never saw Richarlison as the man, if you like. So I do agree with you there, Kate.
Just to put it out there, you always have that option, and I know it would be a brave call for Thomas Frank, but Bellamy when he manages Wales, he has Johnson as a false 9. I personally would rather see that than see Richarlison running around like he did today, because Johnson knows where the back of the net is. I'm not sure Richarlison does.
Richarlison will always split opinion.
I can bring a little bit of balance here. I can bring a little bit of balance. He is the second top scorer in the Premier League. I'm not trying to say he's amazing or anything. He's got the same amount of goals as TK and Gyökeres this year. But
wow,
I know what you're saying.
When you put it like that, Luke, it is quite a statement so far. But I think at the end of the season is probably to judge him.
I don't think Kate's wrong. I just think she's probably a little bit further down the line than I am at this moment in time. I don't think Richarlison's the answer. I don't think we should have got Richarlison back then. But he's here now. I do think that part of the reason why he's not scoring as many, or he looks a little bit like that, is because the attacking threat is almost a bit off, and he's not a striker that you have to do everything for. Just on the on the Richarlison chance, that to score what I know, it was an unbelievable ball by Porro, but to score that would take a pretty exceptional striker, and we're used to seeing Kane probably do that. I don't know many strikers that would be able to actually have brought that ball down, beat the man one-on-one and finish it. There was still quite a lot to do, even though it was a superb ball. So I like Richie for a lot of his stuff, but I know why he's nowhere near good enough for a lot of us as well. But I also think that if you start actually creating better chances for him, then I think he is more likely to score goals. But 100%, we definitely... I mean, the chat was fantastic, because there was literally one comment going, Kate, you are absolutely bang on, and someone else going, I like Richie, he's good. And it's like, that's Spurs, right? We've got one comment that completely agrees. And so I don't think there is a right or wrong on this. I think when Richarlison plays well, he's a nightmare for centre-backs, because you won't want to play against him. You can imagine him kicking and screaming and elbowing and everything. So I wouldn't want to play against him. He can score goals. He's got the spectacular in him. He's a big, powerful. He's good in the air. But then the next week you watch him and he looks like he's never played football, right? It's that consistency. And I think the problem is that we've got that with a lot of our players, where 1 minute they're great 1 minute they're not, 1 minute they're available, 1 minute they're not, and it gets all disjointed. So yeah, I wouldn't have Scarlett in front of him. And Johnson, for me, even when he came on, I know we're going to go on to it in a minute, but I mean, there's so many times where like 50-50 challenge, he just jumps out of it. There was one where the ball was thrown to him and he just run it out of play. And I was like, there was no one anywhere near him. He just kind of run out with it. So I think Johnson needs to have a hell of a lot more to his game. And I think I was speaking to someone the other day about him, and they said that with Johnson, a lot of the times people don't even really pay attention to him, because when he's on the ball, he's probably not going to beat you and do something unbelievable. You almost like forget about him, and then he drifts under the back post and scores. You're like, So part of the fact that he's not got an all-round game is that you kind of, the defenders probably go, I'm not too worried about him, and then all of a sudden he scores. Whereas if he's a central striker, then I think there's a lot more that kind of goes into it, because we've just named all the issues that Richie had today. It wasn't goal scoring, because he'd done that. It was all the other stuff that I don't think Johnson could do neither. So Solanke's an upgrade, but then again, it comes down to, as I said earlier, this fitness thing. Moani didn't look fit when he came on. He's obviously injured today. Solanke, again, similar with Moani, we signed Solanke. He didn't miss a single Premier League game for Bournemouth. He played 38 games that season. He comes to us and he missed the second game as well. So it's just yeah, like life of being a Spurs fan, right?
And it just, oh dear, who would be a Spurs fan, honestly? I'll tell you. Anyway, moving on. I think we've done Richarlison to death. 27 minutes, 2 quick chances for Brighton, with Vicario saving the first. 28 minutes, Odegaard fires wide. And then 31 minutes, wow, what a strike from Ayari. Let's come on to you, Ricky, for this. Ayari, absolute stunner, I've written down here. Now, was Vicario at fault? Obviously, the first picture I'm showing is Bergvall. I had the ball near the corner flag. I don't know where he's passing to, but it's cut out by the eventual goal scorer. And he absolutely fires in an unbelievable shot. But what I want to ask, Rick, was Vicario at fault for this? Or was it just one of those you have to put your hands up and say, fair play, that's a strike and off?
Firstly, Craig, what I would say is that you shouldn't judge players on their looks. Just because he's a stunner doesn't mean that, you can give him a free ride. All right. Secondly, I think it was a great strike. I think it came out of some kerfuffling on that edge of the box. There was a lot of 1-2 intricate plays and our players trying to get it back. And then the player's just gone, you know what? And he's lashed it. Like I say, I do think that Vicario should have done better, in the sense of you've got enough time to see it coming. He is a very good reactive stopper. So I would have expected him to get it. He did get his fingers to it, but then that's where I kind of came with the kind of came to the conclusion that maybe it was slippery. And I know that's a terrible excuse, but it almost looks like his fingers have got to it, but then it slipped and it's just gone into the back of the net, or it was struck so well that it forced that error from him. But to answer your question, bro, I do think he should have done better in this instance. Yeah, absolutely. Are you there?
I think Vicario was at fault for this. My son, who's a goalkeeper, obviously goalkeepers union, doesn't think he was, but he said because he was hit like a knuckleball and they can move all over the place, right? But it seems like he's going to his right and then he has to go to his left at the last minute. As you say, got a hand to it, but just wasn't strong enough. But I think, to be fair, the Spurs players, if you see where he struck it from, they're probably not thinking, well, they're probably actually thinking, go on, have a shot, because there's no way you're going to score from there. And of course it goes in, doesn't it? Kate, coming around to you, 40, because it's Tottenham. 43 minutes, your favourite player scores a goal. Kate, I have to say the build-up play to this was probably better than the goal itself, but every goal counts. So talk us through this goal. Obviously, I'm not going to put tons and tons of pictures because I could have moved it back. But Bentancur runs through the middle, plays a ball wide to Odegaard, back to Bentancur, slips it on to Kudus. And Kudus, well, let's face it, he has a shot, hits Richarlison, and Richarlison knocks it in. What did you make of this goal?
Absolute goal of the season. World class finish from Richarlison and an excellent assist from Kudus. Now, look, it was one of them goals where it's going ping pong in the box, and you're thinking, is it going to go in? Is it going to go in? And then, of course, Kudus has that shot. It comes out to Richie, and it just hits him. The keeper even gets a hand on it, but he still manages to go in the net. But it came at a time that I think was crucial because, you know, going into half-time at 2-0 down is a completely different situation than going into half-time at 2-1. So it came at a great time. It wasn't a great goal. It was a scrappy finish. But it you know, someone had to score it. Richarlison was in the right place, and it came off of Richarlison. Someone says in the chat, look, Kane scored goals like that. Every striker scores scrappy goals. Right place, right time. It is what it is. You know, I can't knock him for that. But it was just a perfect time. Like I say, 3 minutes or whatever it was before half time. It takes the whole mentality of the team going into the dressing room completely different. But Richie didn't go mad, did he? I don't think he poo-pooed even, because it was one of those goals that just right place, right time. As I say, if I was stood there, I fancy I could have scored that. But well done, Richie. World-class finish. And at the end of the day, it don't matter how they go in. At the end of the season, it's just that they go in. And it's another one on the tally. And you know, scoring goals breeds confidence, apparently. So, you know.
No, that's right. You know, I mean, they always say that when you play golf, it doesn't matter. Like, you could have played a hole, not hit the fairway, not hit the green in regulation, and yet you get a par. There's no pictures on a scorecard, and there's no pictures on a score result on a football game, is there? So fair play. And people probably think we're knocking Richarlison. We're not. But everybody's got their own opinions.
I'm trying really hard.
Yeah, we are trying, and I'm kind of with Kate on this. Kate, just stay with you. Let's talk about Kudus for a little while, because for me, he's been our player of the season so far. I think he's been outstanding in some games. Some games he goes missing a bit, but I think you generally get that with players with skill like Kudus, because Ginola, one of my favourite ever players to play for Tottenham, he didn't perform brilliantly in every game, as much as we'll probably remember him doing that. He didn't. He went missing in certain games, and you're going to get that with that type of player. But what did you make of Mohamed Kudus today?
First of all, can I just say, I don't hate Richie. I did actually do a whole stream on how I apologised to him after his first, game back. I just have to say it as I see it. But Kudus is different gravy for me. I mean, what a signing. What a bargain he's been as well. I agree with you. He's never going to be at the forefront the whole time. I think the goals will come from him, but I know that in his interview recently, he said he doesn't care if he doesn't score goals as long as he's assisting. I just think if we could get that level of player on the other side as well, I think, we're going to cause teams a big problem. But he looks like he loves football. He's slotted into Spurs effortlessly. Looks like he's played for us for years. He's just got that's something, when you watch a player, and certain players have just got something. He's got a bit of swagger about him because he knows that he's got the flicks and tricks. And I thought he was excellent. And I would agree, he's probably been our player of the season. And like I say, when you look at what we paid for him, it suddenly looks like a real bargain, because he's made such a massive difference to our team. All the West Ham fans that said that they didn't really want him, I don't know what they were watching, because, he's a baller as far as I'm concerned. And like I say, we just need to match that level of talent on the other side, get a good striker. And like I say, we'll be causing teams lots of problems.
I think you're right. I mean, the thing is with when fans of other clubs say, we didn't want him anyway, it's generally they didn't want him to go, right? And it's just like human nature, isn't it? That's all that is. Luke, coming around to you, 57 minutes, second half, obviously, now 57 minutes, Bentancur, bad pass through to Richarlison, and he would have been in. I've written down here, and I remember that chance very well. What did you make of Bentancur? And, let's cover Paulina as well. What did you make of that pair in the midfield today?
Yeah, I think Paulina is exactly where we've been lacking that sort of player for a while. Personally, I felt under Frank's system, because we would be better as a defensive unit. I wanted more of a progressive passer, someone that's able to get the ball off the in the sixth position off the centre backs and turn and move. But when you factor in that you've got Romero, probably one of the best ball playing centre halves in the league, Porro so good on the ball, maybe he takes away a little bit of that, and you're able to distribute the ball that way instead of into your midfielder. But there's been a lot of debate around Palhinha I've seen on Spurs like Twitter and things like that, and basically saying like we should have been going for something different. But I think in certain games is exactly what you need. I mean, you could say that in the better games, in the games where it's a bigger team, that he would be able to come really to the fore then. But also, he allows you to be able to play more attacking players, right? Because he's going to sit and be able to mop up what they don't need to get back as much or whatever. So, I think he's proving a real good sign-in. Whether he's the long-term player, I'm not so sure. I think what we've done this transfer window really well is that we've kind of gone short-term fixes. Let's see where we're at, because let's say, for instance, we go into next year and we're playing in the Champions League again and we finish 5th. Maybe we can go and strengthen another level. Whereas if we go and get European football, then maybe that's a different level of player that we're targeting. So it's almost like, let's see where we're at next year. Let's see how the project works out under Frank, because we don't know. We expect Frank to come in and do really good things because he's done it at a lower level. But he needs to step up, right? We're saying about Richarlison, for instance. He would be a really good striker for some teams in the Premier League, but he's not going to be a really good striker for ones that want to challenge for the title. So it's all about levels. So I think he's been a very good signing for us. I think he allows you to be able to change your players, like in terms of midfield, for instance. You've got Sarr in there, you've got Bergvall has played there, Bentancur has played there, and I think a lot of them will be able to benefit from having a Palhinha type. And that's not even including players like Bergvall and Sarr learning from that sort of player. He's been at Bayern Munich, do you know what I mean? He's a top player, he's always been a top player. So I think he's been a great signing, and on loan it just made absolutely no sense why people were going, no, I wouldn't take him. It's like, this is a loan. If this was 30-40 million, then maybe you could turn around and be like, well, but it's a loan signing. Like, for me, it was absolutely fantastic. And Bentancur, I feel like I feel like a lot of our players are the second player. So, like, for instance, there are players like Odobert, for instance, who I think is a good player off the bench. You've got a starter, and he's a player that comes off the bench and makes an impact. Bentancur, for me, is not your main central midfielder. He's the second guy. That there should be a star next to him, sort of thing. So, but I think for the chance that we brought up with Richarlison, I think Bentancur done very well driving through the middle. He gave it to Odobert. I think Odobert played it back, and I think it was quite a good little bit of play. So, I think he'll give us a benchmark in certain games. But as I said earlier, there'll be different characteristics that are needed in games. So, I can't imagine Bentancur being the guy that would start most weeks. I think Palhinha is that guy, and then you can say, right, this is going to be tough, so we'll have Bentancur, or we should have a little bit more possession. Maybe then we go with a Bergvall or a Sarr type who are going to be a little bit more of a forward thinker. But I think they're a good partnership. I think they're a good partnership. But again, one that probably we will need to be upgrading in a year or two's time.
Yeah, I tend to agree, and I'm still not sure Frank knows what his best, perhaps midfield 3 is, or depending on whether he's playing a 6 and an 8, 2 pivots and all this kind of stuff. I think he's still working this out, which is understandable. Romero today, actually, Luke, staying with you, he seemed to be shouting a lot at people, telling them what he wants them to do, bawling them out when they didn't do things that they should have been doing. I think he shouted at Bergvall a couple of times. What have you made of Christian Romero's first few games as Spurs captain? Because he's impressed me. He seems to be still playing on the edge to a degree, but seems to have toned it down a bit. And also, what did you make of him and Mickey van der Ven today?
Yeah, I think I didn't agree with the off-the-field stuff with Romero. I think that was where my problem came in. So, for instance, I know he was a big supporter of Ange, and actually I was a supporter of Ange as well. But as soon as Ange left, your loyalties then leave. I don't support Ange. I support Tottenham. You're not an Ange player. You're a Tottenham player, right? So, the fact he left it so long, and the day that Frank appointed, he then made the statements. I just think it's so it's so uncalled for more than anything else. Just absolutely didn't need to happen. However, as a player, if you're looking at if I'm on the pitch, Romero's a player I want to be playing under. Romero's a player I want as my captain, 100%. He's got all the experience. He's played at top level, and also when you're going into your big nights, your big games, you want your captain to step up. And actually, if you was to go through Romero's best 10 games in a Tottenham shirt, all of them are probably massive, massive games. Europa League finals, Man City's. Like, he seems to be a player that goes, oh, this is the level. Oh, I'll step to that level tonight, 100%. And that's what you want in your captain. You don't want a captain that absolutely goes and dominates all of these smaller teams. But when the big boys come along, it has a bit of an off day sort of thing. So I think it was a really good appointment. I wasn't sure on it, as I said previously, but he's obviously come in. He's committed. The signing of the new contract, I think, was absolutely pivotal, because you want your captain to be someone that's going to stay around, right? They're going to be a figurehead for the club, signing that new contract. And also massively underrated, I think, because of the unavailability. I think that's the biggest key for me. If he's available more, he'll be more consistent. But his passing ability as a centre back is so. I've seen certain people in the fan base say, I think that Danso should come in. I think Dragusin should come in and take his place. And I'm like, just on the ball, this guy offers so much. It's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, you only got to go back to the assist the other week. It just his ball playing as a centre back is just absolutely phenomenal, and that relieves so much pressure. And every player is going to have some sort of negatives, right? So Jed Spence is a lot of players, they absolutely adore Jed Spence, but we have to accept that in an attacking sense at left back, there's a negative there, because he's so good defensively and he's also coming in field. So there's no perfect player unless you're Kevin De Bruyne sort of level. There's no perfect player. Every player is going to have its own drawbacks, and what we need to do as a team is make sure that we're able to hide them with the positives of another player. So I think as a partnership, them two can be absolutely incredible. You've got Romero, who's aggressive. He's the captain. He wins headers. He can press. He's forward thinking. He's got the ball over the top. Then you've got Van der Ven, who can cover. I think Van der Ven can actually make a lot of improvement in him as a player, as a defender, and that's scary, right? Because he's still a very good defender now, but I can see so much improvement in him as well. And I'm sure, again, if I'm a centre back playing alongside Romero, he's the kind of person that I want. Like he's exactly what you want in a centre back, and I'm sure Romero says exactly the same thing about Van der Ven. So I think a thing that's really underestimated. A thing massively underestimated on a pitch is partnerships. So you can have two centre backs that are decent centre backs, but as a pairing, they're phenomenal because they just work off of each other. And I think them two could end up going to the very, very top because of how they offer different parts and hide over the other person's negatives, if that makes sense.
No, definitely it's really good assessment of that. I think hopefully they'll be our centre back partnership for years to come. I just think they're both phenomenal players, and we look so much better with them in the team, don't we? On 61 minutes, Bentancur went off for Javi, and Javi was actually playing in the 10 role today, Rick. I thought that was really interesting, and really actually pleased to see him in his kind of natural sort of home, the role that he says he's the best in. And it paid off straight away, really, because on 64 minutes, Javi shot wide. 68 minutes, great run by Javi, good shot and superb save by Verbruggen. Just tipped it round the post for a corner. And on 70 minutes, Javi with another chance after a cross from Kudus. What did you make of Javi's performance today?
I'm like you, Craig. I was just really excited to see him in the 10 position. It was interesting that at that point, it was Bentancur that went off, like you say. So it's Paulinho and then Bergvall as the 8, I suppose, as the box-to-boxer. So we were still going for it. We're still pushing. He was still the one with the energy in there. And to have Xavi come on, it was like, yeah, you mentioned his shots. But for me, it was the passes. It was the weight of passes. It was the choice of passes. It was how he got others in there. And that's what we've all been asking for a long time. That's what we was worried about when Maddison got injured. It was like, who's going to be making those type of passes? And Xavi can do it, mate. He can do it. So to see him in there as a cameo, You know, and he wanted to bring him on. Actually, he wanted to bring him on quite quickly. Look at it. At 55 minutes, he wanted to bring him on. It was just that the game kept going up until 60, and then he's come on 61. I think he said. So that, you know, Frank wanted him on sooner, and you can see what influence he has in the number 10 role. A lot of people were worried, and it was one of my worries as well, like the physicality of the Premier League. But the one thing with him is that in the Bundesliga and wherever he's played, actually, he reads the game so well that he gets out of challenges almost. He uses his body really well. He shifts the ball past the player. He done it to Paqueta last week, where Paqueta comes in and there's a big foot coming forward to try and take the ball off of him, and he nuts him so smoothly. You know, with so much class, and then breaks forward, and he's got that within him. He can ride. He's not afraid of a challenge. He can ride a challenge. There's a lot going on there, and I think the more that we play him in that position, I think we're going to see the best of him. He's a really amazing player, I think, and I think he has definitely been the quote unquote statement signing. There's so much to come from him at such a young age as well. I think he's going to develop into a dynamite player wearing a Tottenham shirt. I think he made the right choice in choosing us. I think this is the best place for him to grow, develop, and become the player that everybody sees him to be. But, you know, recognize that he has had the same problems the whole way through his career. He has always been up against bigger, stronger, tougher opposition. And since kid level, he has been able to find a way. He's always been able to find a way. So it's going to take some adaptation. He's going to have to start learning about the Premier League, and the only way you can learn about it is by playing in it week in, week out. But once he figures it out, I think he's off to a flyer. It was just so good to see him in that 10 today. Being able to find the passes, and he'll find each strike as well, because it's not like he can't score. He's got a fantastic shot.
Oh yeah. I think.
Go on,
Rick. Sorry. No, you're right. I was just going to say, I totally agree. What I saw enough today from Javi, in my opinion, to think that's what that Maddison sort of role, if you like, the 10. I think Javi could do wondrous things for us in that role. I do, and I actually hope that we see him midweek against Doncaster, which we'll come on to in a little while. But I think that would be a good game for him to showcase his skills in that position. I really do. Rick, what did you make of one player we haven't spoke about today? He actually went off in the 72nd minute. Was Odebear? What did you make of Odebear's performance?
It was good to see him start, because we've heard, how much Thomas Frank likes him as a player. Yep. So it was good to see him start the game. And obviously he is in the Champions League squad, which, Matthias Tell is not. So I was excited to see what he brought to the table. It was bitty. There was moments where, especially in the first half, he was working well with Udogie on the left-hand side, and was working well with Bergvall as well, knocking it into midfield and stuff like that. But there were times where he got moved off the ball. He got, outpowered off the ball by some of them Brighton defenders and midfielders. And we know how good Believer is as well. But there were just times where there was a player that just stood in front of him, barged him with his shoulder. He went off that way, and Brighton were on the attack again. So the kind of reservations, the worries that I had, and that most people had with Xavi coming in as a lighter weight type player, was more evident within Odebear. He needs a run of games. He needs to find a rhythm. He needs to, be able to be out there so that the other players, whether it be midfield or those up front, when crossing in, know his runs and know his game. He's another one that is a box of tricks and another kind of unpredictable player. So he's going to have to get some type of run of games, just so that the rest of the team can understand when to play that ball and when to find him and when to trust him. So, yeah, it was great to see him start. but at the same time, it wasn't an outstanding. I felt it was a good performance. I don't feel like it was an outstanding performance, and a performance where we could kind of all as a fan base and Thomas Frank as the manager go, yeah, you're my number one left winger. The left wing position is up for grabs right now. It's up for grabs. Up until January, it is up for grabs. It is up to the players within the squad that play in that position, and we do have a lot of players that can play in that position, to go and grab that shirt, to go and make that shirt theirs. You know, Matthias Tell, Odebear, Johnson out there, and you know, some others can play, whether it's Richarlison or Colin Mawani. But those first three, it's up to them to go and grab the shirt. And I kind of wanted to see Matthias Tell, and in the left-hand side, I felt that he done well for us last year when he played on the left. Not outstanding, but he done well for us. And I think he's another young one that needs a run of games to kind of start getting a rhythm and start getting a feel of what he's about. I don't think Matthias Tell is a 9. I think he's more a left winger, and I think it's up to him to grab this opportunity, especially in the league, especially in the cup, whenever he gets an opportunity on the left wing, so that he can put pressure on Thomas Frank once we get to the knockouts of the Champions League, to swap that decision with Odebear and go, all right, cool, you know, maybe Odebear hasn't grabbed these chances, but, you know, I'm there. And, you know, a bit like Spence last year, you know you need to put me in. I said this before with Tell, in regards to Tell, but also for Odebear. If you're disappointed about not starting, not playing, you know, or not being the number one right now, you look at Spence last year, who went through a rocky season, scores the winner against Coventry, doesn't get put in the next game. In fact, doesn't get put in for the next couple of games. Gets omitted from the Europa League squad, but makes himself so kind of pivotal in what we were doing that come January, February, he's the one that is 100%, you know, within the squad going into the knockout stages. So it's the same that I would say for these people that are vying for the left-hand position. Go out there, make it yours. You have to take every opportunity. Yes, I'm saying I understand that they're going to need rhythm to show their best, but every single opportunity you're going to have to grab so that you can gain that rhythm, so that you can then start building on your own game. Because up until January, if none of those players grab their opportunity, then I see us going back into the market for someone like a Savinho or someone else that's on the on the shopping list. Maybe that's a Rodrigo. Who knows? Who knows what it is, depending on what investment we get. Who knows what it is? But like Kate said earlier, those two positions, the left wing and a striker, we haven't seen much about Kolo right now. I think he's a dynamite player, but obviously not fit right now. But something has to happen in January in one of those two positions. Do you know what I mean? And it's up to these players right now to show the manager that, you know what, I'm the man. Put me in there. Look at Bergvall at the age he is in. He's at. He has grown for every single game last year, and then he's come in this year and he's like, give it to me, give it to me, give it to me. He's gonna make mistakes, but you can see the growth in him, and you can see the trust building not only with Thomas but with us. It's the same on that left-hand side. Go out there and do the same. He's younger than everyone else that is on that left-hand side. Yes, they're young ones. Yes, I'll give them credit and I'll give them grace. But you've got a boy in the centre of midfield in the Premier League doing it, you know. So no excuse. Don't take the excuses. Go out there and show us. Go out there and be the guy.
I wonder whether they will go back in, and they probably they definitely saw, in my opinion, Savinho as a solution to the replacing Son on that left. I just wonder whether they will go back in for him in January. I really hope they do. I really hope they do.
I think it will be to do with Man City's injuries, because Cherki and Mamouche are out, and Savinho hasn't come back into the fold yet. But with them two, if they're out long term, they might end up keeping him. Do you know? Or they'll go all in for Rodrigo, and then we might be able to nick him. But it's going to be one of those. Man City are not going to give him to us. We know what the relationship's like.
Yeah, that's right.
Luke, following on from what Ricky said, everyone needs to step up, and the reason for that is when you talk about the Champions League squad, you can only make 3 changes in January. Now, you would assume that Dragusin would come into that squad if he's fit, because we don't have a lot of centre-backs in the squad selected. So if we have a couple of injuries, you're already looking at Ben Davies having to start there. So for me, Dragusin or Takai, depending on what level he's at, one of them would come in once they've proved that they're fit. And Kulusevski's back in January, right? You're not going to leave him out your squad. So you're talking about maybe we go and get Savinho. There's your 3 players that are already... they're your 3 changes. Now you've got to find 3 within the squad you're taking out, and that's before you've included Matisse Tell in it. That's before you've included. I don't think Maddison will be back, and that's only one signing in January. So I think everyone is basically like, you've all got a point to prove here, because anyone could be popping out here. There's so many players that we've got. Excuse me. From last weekend, the players that didn't get in the squad, there was Archie Gray who didn't get in, Dragusin who wasn't in, Basuma wasn't in, Solanke wasn't in, and there was another. I think there was 5 or 6 that weren't in the squad. And that's the 20 man squad that they wasn't in. So the squad depth, there's so many players there that you would say are established first team players. Everyone's almost got like a year, 18 months to kind of go, right, I want to be here for the long term, because loads of them need to make sure they make that step up soon.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be very interesting. You're right, Luke, in January to see what he does with that squad. There might be part of me sees Archie Gray missing out. I don't know. I wonder if they even send Archie Gray on loan. I'm not sure that's a wise decision for a £40 million player, but we'll see. Kate, just coming on to you now for the last 10 minutes, 81 minutes. Richarlison was put in, and just it was a weak shot, to be honest with you. 82nd minute, Van Hecker own goal from a kudos cross. Talk us through this one.
Do you know what? I thought you was going to make me analyse Richarlison again there, and I didn't want to go in on him anymore. Look, Kudos delivered it in from the right. It got flicked on by Polinia, and then right in the path of Van Heck, who really tried to stay close to his marker, couldn't really do anything else. It come off his thigh and went into the net, and I think it was well deserved. Although again, a scrappy goal, but again, it doesn't matter how they go in as long as they go in. But there wasn't really much he could do about it. Again, it's the fact that we're putting the pressure on their goal. If you put pressure on consistently, mistakes are going to happen, or unfortunate errors are going to happen, own goals, things like that. So after that went in, I was pretty convinced we would actually go on to win it. I thought the momentum would build from getting back from 2-0 down to bringing it to 2-2. I really thought we would go on and win it, but unfortunately that didn't happen. But yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate for them, because I thought Van Heck had a good game. But there really wasn't much he could do about it. It came off his thigh. But like I say, if you can put continual pressure on a goal, these things do happen. But again, Kudos was involved. He seems to be involved in everything good going forward. And yeah, it was no less than what we deserved. I mean, I think we had 80% possession come the 57th minute. So, you know, it was all going our way. It was just we couldn't put it in the net. So, like I say, I think had we have had a little bit longer, if the goal had gone in maybe 72 minutes, I think we would have gone on to win the game. But look, coming back from a 2-0 deficit to get a draw away at Brighton, I think that's it. You know, some people will go, you know, it should have been a win. That's disrespectful to Brighton, in my opinion. Like I say, they're a good team. They're well organised. They're a lot like Bournemouth. They're never in danger of getting relegated. And to go away to their place and get a draw, especially when you're 2-0 down, I think is a really good result. And I think Thomas Frank will be delighted, really. I don't see it as 2 points dropped. I know someone put that in the chat earlier. I don't look at it like that. I think it's a good point that we've won today.
Yeah, no, I do agree. I mean, I'm disappointed. You know, obviously, certainly with that first half, before Richarlison pulled us back into the game, that I just had a feeling. I put in our chat group that I just had a feeling that it was going to go Pete Tong. You know, but we got back into it, and there's an argument to say we wouldn't have done that last year. You know,
I agree.
Under Ange, and I, you know, I loved Ange. I wanted him to stay. Really interested to see how he's going to do at Forest, to be honest with you. Obviously hasn't started off brilliantly, but that's probably for another podcast, isn't it? Well, at 89,
Craig, can I just ask you something quickly on that?
Go on.
I know you said you wanted Ange to stay, and what Ange did for this club is unbelievable. And I've got his tattoo on me, so I'll never forget what he's done. But when you watch Thomas Frank now,
Hang on, sorry, you've got a tattoo of Ange Postecoglou.
Well, I've got it's who we are, mate, up here.
Oh, I thought you had a picture of him on your arm. I thought that's.
No.
I thought he had his face.
No, I'm not that crazy. But when you watch us now, Craig, having watched us last year under Ange, don't you see a massive difference? Aren't you glad that we've moved on from Ange? Because I love him watching Tottenham now, and I didn't get that last year.
Yes, indeed. I just thought Ange was, we've discussed this on the pod. I just thought Ange had earned the right to be the manager. Now, that always isn't the case in football. You don't always get what you deserve, all those cliches. But obviously, all we knew then in June was that Ange had won us the Europa League. If you take out what Thomas Frank's done for us and what Frank is hopefully going to do for us, at the time, I could kind of see the logic from the club in a way, but I just thought, how do you sack a manager that wins your first European trophy for 41 years? So that's just me. We could talk for hours.
Yeah.
What's that? Sorry?
I completely agree. That was my stance on it.
It was incredibly harsh, I thought, but in the same breath, I kind of understood it. You know what I mean? It was really weird, but yeah, Ange is
right.
Yeah, both things can be right.
Yeah,
not mutually exclusive sort of thing. And it's weird. I do see a lot of people disrespecting Ange online and stuff, and I don't think he deserves that because he did win us the trophy. The league was appalling, obviously, but hey, we didn't get relegated and we won a European trophy, and I had a fantastic 3 days and then standing with Chris and Ricky in a flower pot watching them lift the trophy on the stage, which was fantastic. We met a lot of wonderful people that day. Anyway, 89th minute, Porro and Bergvall replaced by Gray and Spence. Obviously, just a few minutes from each of those players. 94th minute, the only real bit of other action, Kudos cut inside, deflected shot wide, and the game finished 2-2. So let's hear from Thomas Frank and see what he felt about today's game.
The kind of conviction of your team to come back in character.
Yeah, very happy with that. Spoke about mentality before the game to the players, that to go down here against a good Brighton side away from home, on the back end of our first Champions League game, it's all about mentality. Of course, we need structure and tactic and game plan and all that. We like to praise ourselves as coaches, but in the end of the day, it's mentality to stay in there when it's tough. And I love the way we started the game. Away from home, just boom, on top of it. I don't think Brighton were over the halfway line the first, whatever, I can't remember when they scored, 10, 12 minutes or when it was. Then they score a goal where praise to Brighton, but we can do better, and it's like this offside. We keep going, keep on it, and then the great goal, but Vic can do better. I'm very happy with him, spoke to him, so I think he had a great season for us, and it happens. But we keep going, we stayed in the game, stick to the game plan, and I thought we looked physical strong. I thought that players looked strong and we intense throughout the game, even though we had a midweek game, which I'm very happy with the physical preparation during preseason, everything the team have done with big help from the performance staff at Tottenham. So the mentality, the physical aspect, I thought was key. And coming here, where we last year, we came here and we tuned up, lost 3-2. Now we tuned down and come back 2-2, I think. Is good, and if there should have been a winner in my eyes, and maybe slightly biased, I think it should have been us. I think the amount of crosses, the amount of touches in the opponent's box, the amount of nearby and also chances was more than enough to win the game. Exceptional. He was exceptional today. He was unstoppable almost going forward, and I think also. It was a little bit unfortunate. It was Wilson that had to track him on the situation because a little bit of a high pressure situation. The Brighton's 1-0 goal, but he just completely took him out. Going forward, very good, just top.
His impact from the bench?
Yeah, I'm very, very pleased with that. I think Xavi came in and did exactly what we thought he could do in that 10 position. And I think he, of course, he had a good preseason and he played 2 games in Germany and all that, but he's still coming into a team and all that. And I think on any other day, he score a goal. He got a great finish on the first one, great save from Verbruggen. And the other one, he missed times. And I think actually maybe he could have got an assist to Richie, where Lucas takes the ball. He doesn't see him, so yeah.
Is it a more natural position for him?
I think he can play both. I think he can easily play the left winger that can go more inside. I also think he'd have the right position to sometimes the playmakers, they drift to the side because there's no space in the middle. So I think he can do that. But 10, obviously, he can play that as well.
You referenced the game last season. Obviously, you weren't here. There were a lot of matches in the Premier League last season where Tottenham's sort of resilience and mentality was questioned at times. Obviously, you're very pleased with it today, but are you always surprised with how quickly you've managed to get that resilience and mentality?
I'm very, very pleased with it. I think there was also a situation first half, the way we sprinted back on a recovery runs, like, that's goosebumps. That's bread and butter. But if you want to be a resilient team, because we play against good teams, and it'll be difficult sometimes. But it's a good group of players. They want to perform. They are disappointed after the game. Even when we come back, they wanted to win, of course. I also think the overall performance played in. I think maybe this was our most complete performance so far in the season. I know we made, you can say, we conceded 2 goals, but I think actually there was so many positive overall in the game. Also the high pressure, the man, very aggressive. But as you say, that resilience in the group, that mentality is good.
Enquiries, another great performance. He looks like he's been playing for Spurs for a long time. What have you been most impressed with this adaptation to the team?
I think 2 things. One, his work ethic has been really good. It's big for me. How hard he works in the counter press, high pressure, defensive side of it. But his his hold up play when it goes into him is just stick. They can't get it off him, so he just keeps it. He doesn't lose a 50-50 ball. And then the third thing is 1v1 ability is crazy. He's so strong. He's so explosive. So he just dominated the right hand side.
I'm just going to ask about the second goal.
Yeah.
He's a bit kicking himself on that one, or is it not as simple as it looks?
I think it's never as simple as look. I think that's a big thing. I think it's a great strike, but he will be kicking himself. He wants to save that.
Thomas, that's Brentford. Obviously, part of your success was through coaching improvement out of individual players. Do you look at a lot of your team and think you can get 10, 20, 30% improvement out of them as individual players?
Hopefully. We try to put a good structure in place, offensively, defensively, clear principles, keep reinforcing the right messages. So, for example, today we put so many crosses in. That's a big part of what we want to do. There could be a little bit more quality. We could also have a little bit more runs, and then we'll keep coaching them running in the right gaps, for example. I think if Richie have run in the right gaps, it's scored maybe 2 goals more today, for example. So I think a lot of the players, of course, I believe any player can keep developing. So that's a big part of what I believe in, and my coaching staff believe in as well.
Thomas, can I just ask you to expand a little bit more on why you think it's been the most complete performance of the season?
Yeah, because I know we conceded 2 goals, and it's never that black and white. So one where Vic will say I should take it. The second one is okay. We can see the goal. That can happen. We play this Premier League is good. But besides that, I thought we defended well. Overall, I think the high pressure was very aggressive, and we were winning the ball back more or less all the time, which I would like to do. I think in phase 1 we got out every time more or less. We controlled it up there. We created so many good opportunities and had the counter press and rest defending and crosses. So it was a lot of the bit we would like to do. So because of that, and then on top of that, the mentality to come back from 2-0 down is so important.
What can you achieve when you've got Randall, Colomboani and Dominic Solanke back and you've got those extra attacking options?
That's a good question. I don't know. Right now, I think it's about that consistency. So we played 5 Premier League games. I think we had 4 good performances and 1 bad. So can we stick with? I don't want that bad. I think it was a bad performance. So can we just get all bad performances out and consistently produce good performances? Then on a day where whatever there's a mistake and you need to come back, you still get a point, or you maybe turn it around and win 2-1 or win 3-2.
Yeah, final one. Can I just ask for your just perspective on Wilson-Oliver's first start of the season and how we got there?
Happy with it, I must admit. I thought he looked lively. Clearly, it looks like they were a little bit afraid of him. So he got time to turn and run forward. And I think we drew some crosses, some good opportunities. He's also involved in a goal. Worked hard. So a good first start.
Just on Randall Carter-Moani, you expect him just to miss the one game?
Hopefully, it was a dead leg. So I've actually been struggling with for 4 or 5 days. It was just not settling as we hoped for. So hopefully for Wednesday.
Just on the Dogie as well, have you been sort of waiting for a little while to get up to speed starting the game?
Yeah, but I must admit, I got 3 extremely good fullbacks. I think Jet Spencer's been fantastic for us. So when another player is doing so well, then there's no reason to throw Destiny in too early. And I'm pretty sure we need all 3 throughout the season. That is crucial. We are playing, hopefully, as constantly saying, around 60 games this season. That's a lot. If you see, I think Liverpool, they changed both their fullbacks from midweek to today. So it's a big thing. We want fullbacks come bombarding up and down, so we'll lead everyone. But very happy with this.
Thomas, do you enjoy a game like that? Because we talking about the structure and set pieces and that felt like a bit of a throwback, end-to-end, rain,
Yeah.
chances.
Yeah.
I mean, as a manager, do you like that, or do you sort of want it to calm down a bit?
I think you always want to control if you can, but I liked how aggressive we were, and there were some very good opportunities going forward, and I liked that we look very dangerous. That I liked a lot. I must admit.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. No problem. Thank you.
That's quite a long press conference post-game, actually, from Frank there. They're usually a bit short, so safe to say he was happy there. Look, come around to you just to discuss this press conference. As I say, safe to say he was happy. He said we should have won. I think it was Ali Gold asking him the question about Udogie, and he said he was exceptional. Javi was great in the 10. The whole mentality of this team was good. He praised Kudus' work ethic and hold-up play. And he said it was the most complete performance. I just want to ask you about that, really, Luke. He seemed very happy, didn't he, about the whole game. What do you think he meant by the fact he said it was the most complete performance? I can kind of agree with him in a way, because it did show great character to come back from that, didn't it, today?
Yeah, and I think when you say complete performance, that doesn't mean that it was our best performance. You can play better, but there could be facets that you really struggled with in terms of you might have struggled from defensive or whatever. So in terms of most of our wins, let's be honest, a lot of them have come because of our attacking set pieces. We've caused so much danger, but actually from open play, we've struggled a little bit and things haven't quite clicked here and there. Whereas today, yes, we as he said, we did concede, but on the whole, we seemed pretty solid defensively. We was creating chances in game as well as out, as well as just the set pieces. So in terms of all of the different parts to a game, I think they were at higher levels than they have been. However, when you say complete, sometimes people think that means that was the best performance and it was a 2-2 draw. So there's all little bits and pieces that, again, you have to kind of factor in. So I know it was optional, but you changed your fullback. That changed out. You obviously had your left winger play, I think, starting maybe his first game this season. So there are different parts that have to be added in. I just love the way that he kind of like explains what he means by certain stuff. He gives more detail than I think most managers do, and he's just got such a great way. And I agree with a lot of what he says as well, to be fair. But yeah, I agree. I do think that it was there was a lot of different areas where we looked good today, and I think that's a positive thing.
Yeah, Rick, before we come on to discuss the Doncaster game, what did you make of Frank's press conference there? Is there anything you want to pick up on and talk about?
It's just that he sees it. you know, the amount of things that we pick up on, and we're just fans with opinions. Do you know what I mean? Yes, we live, breathe, and eat Tottenham Hotspur, but we're just fans with opinions, and you know, we'll say something on this podcast, and it ends up being in his press conference, and what that says to me is that he's aware of all of these things. You know, he's seeing the same things. He's seeing the same good things, and he's seeing the same problems. And then he's seeing the insightful things that we ain't picking up on as well. It's just great to see a manager do that. You know, look, one of the things he spoke about was the free fullbacks, and Luke mentioned that he said that earlier during this podcast. He just explained it, you know. So the fact that he picks up those things and he addresses them, and like Luke just said there, he explains his way, his tactics, his insight, what he wanted from the team. It's just it's really good to hear, and it gives us so much to chew on as well. And when somebody, you know, for instance, all right, you know, Levy's gone now, but the amount of times, Craig, me and you have been on here, and we've said, you know what? If he just admitted that he was wrong in that instance, and we're going to fix that, all right, we made the wrong decision there, all right, no worries, we're not going to make that decision again. But as soon as you recognize a mistake, it's not a weakness. I know mostly in life, when you make a mistake or you admit to a mistake, it is seen as weak, but it's not. It's it can be one of your biggest strengths, because it just shows that you're willing to admit what's weak or admit a fault, and that means that you're going to consciously work towards that just being a lesson in life that you've learned from, and you put it right. And that's what I keep hearing from Frank every single time that I've thought something positive or negative. He said it, and I'm like, wow. And then he goes on to explain it, and then he goes a little bit further on how he can progress that either that idea or that player. So refreshing to hear. It does excite me for what's to come with him, because you know it's always a roller coaster at Tottenham Hotspur. So he's going to be getting problems that he never thought that he would have to challenge. You know what I mean, or have to deal with. There's things that are going to crop up. We know it. Yes, there's been a lot of change, but we know there's one thing that stays the same, which is drama and fireworks at Tottenham. More duff-duffs at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
Duff-duffs, 100%.
Let me tell you, bro.
Absolutely, mate, absolutely. And Kate, just very quickly before we move on to Doncaster, I saw you scribbling away during the press conference. You was either doing a crossword or making notes. Is there anything you want to talk about from the press conference that stood out for you? And you're on mute.
I was making notes, yeah, because I just find him such an interesting person to listen to, Thomas Frank. And it's like what Ricky says, you know, that he recognises if he makes mistakes, and he owns it, and he learns from it. Every decision he makes, every comment he makes, he's quite happy to provide an explanation. I find him so interesting to watch. He makes, you know, so absolutely different to Ange in the fact that he makes eye contact with everybody, and he's looking around the room talking. He's a very people person, and he knows how to work the media, in my opinion, perfectly. And I was interested to see that he said it was his most complete performance, but probably from a manager's view, they see things that we don't look for. Like when I watched Tottenham play Manchester City a few weeks ago, I said the best performance I've seen since Pochettino. I thought it was such a complete, balanced performance, but he is the manager, the coach. He sees things completely different. So no, I just really enjoy listening to him. I find him fascinating, and you know, it's not a chore to watch his press conferences, because he always speaks from the heart, and I think he really gets it from a fan perspective as well. That's why I think it's good that he explains what he thinks, what decisions he makes. And yeah, that was all I was noting down. Otherwise I'll forget, because I'm getting old.
Yeah, I know the feeling. Yeah, absolutely. I just think it's good that he's kind of like that all the time. He doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low, and that's kind of what I like about him. Anyway, as I say, Spurs take on Doncaster on Wednesday in the Carabao Cup. Today they lost 2-1 to AFC Wimbledon, and they're in 7th in League One currently. Previous meetings, we've met them 3 times, 3 Spurs wins. In the FA Cup in 55-56 season, we won 2-0. League Cup in 75, 76, we won 7-2. And the League Cup in 2009-10 season, must admit, I don't remember this. We beat them 5-1. For me, this should be a game we should be winning. I would imagine most of you agree with that. So last questions for you. I'll come around to you first, Luke. I'm thinking that youth should get a chance in this. We shouldn't go stupid, absolutely. But should youth get a chance here against Doncaster? For instance, Luca Williams-Barnett, for example, scored a hat-trick last night. He's 16 years old, scored a hat-trick on Friday in Premier League 2 for the under-21s in a 6-3 win away at Leicester. I know a lot of Frank's backroom staff, if not all of them, Cochrane and a few of the others, were at the game at Hotspur Way on Tuesday as well to watch the youth. Thomas Frank wasn't there, but they were. So is this for you? So there's 3 questions. Is this for you a time that we should bring players like Williams-Barnett in to give him a run? What should the lineup be? And give me a score prediction.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one because I think that I know they're obviously a lower level, but if you go and you struggle against these, then all of a sudden, the fact that we've not slid teams open and sliced them open and scored loads of goals, then all of a sudden it goes, was Frank on a bit of a lucky run and kind of stumbled across the wins and everything else, then loses to Doncaster. Does it create a real negative sort of atmosphere? And then you've also got the added thing of, we've just mentioned how massive this squad is. So if you're a player, for instance, you're Matisse Tell and you've been dropped from the lineup and you've been dropped from the squad and you've not been playing, and then he goes and plays a 16-year-old, you're kind of going, hang on a minute. Like, there needs to be a little bit of fairness here. So actually, you mentioned it earlier. I think Ricky said it, that it would be, I think you said it would be a good time for Simmons to play. And then I'm sitting there thinking, actually, maybe that's the perfect thing. Simmons is not going to play 90 minutes. If Xavi starts the 60 minutes and then you've got 30 minutes to bring a 16-year-old on, it's still a massive experience for them. You've not just sort of dropped a first-team player. So, but I definitely think the way that we're managing youth is much, much better. So not just Williams-Barnett. You've also got Janai Byfield, who's 16-year-old playing against under-21s. You've got Thompson, who I think 17, playing up against 21s. And I think that's actually one of the issues that Mikey Moore has had, was Mikey Moore played under-18s football. He effectively bounced straight up. He went to under-21s, but got injured a lot. So then started training with the first team. And actually, if you look on like Transfer Market, for instance, he's actually played as many first-team games as he has under-21 games. So Mikey Moore has always either played against players his age or he's come step right up to the first team. But Barnett now is playing against players that are bigger than him, stronger than him. So when he does come and eventually play in the first team, he's already got a little bit of understanding of how he might need to use his body and et cetera, et cetera. So, kind of a little bit of a politician's answer there. I think that there needs to be a bit of balance. I think that we've got a big enough squad. Archie Grays, Tells, I think Odebert will play. Is Mawani going to get a bit of fitness? I think all of that has to be factored in. But yes, I would expect to see some of the youngsters, if not starting, definitely coming off the bench, hoping that the first team have done a professional job, got them into a good position, and then we can roll out some of the younger players. In terms of the lineup, I think a lot of it will depend on fitness. I think Kinski will most certainly play. Fullback wise, that's really going to be a fitness thing. I think Porro probably would be the one that's played the most. So Spence Udogie probably play. Looking at the centre backs, Davies, Danso probably, or possibly, should we say? Archie Gray, I think, will play in the middle. Is Basuma fit? I know he's had a bit of an injury. Maybe Basuma's fit. Maybe he comes in, he's not fit. So yeah. Gray and who else could possibly come in? Maybe Sarr.
I would say Sarr.
Yeah, Sarr. And then, I mean, wingers, we've got so many. Yeah, as I say, is Mawani fit? I think Xavi should play. So you've got Johnson, you've got Odebert, you've got Tell. Them three maybe make up that forward line, depending on Mawani. And then, as I say, I would sprinkle some youngsters. I think being able to bring young players off the bench and in a settled environment, in a good experienced team against a level of opposition that we hopefully should have a commanding lead against, I think is perfect. And also, I feel like right now, every single game that goes along, and every time Williams Barnett plays a decent game, I feel like there's going to be so much social media pressure going, he should be playing, he should be playing, he should be playing. I feel like almost Frank could play, get him to come on, have his appearance, and then I think it kind of dies away a little bit because then he's made his debut and then he can kind of just grow on in the background a little bit better. Because I think that's what we do at Spurs, right? We just get a young player that's played half a game that's decent and we just go, he's going to be Harry Kane. He's going to be. So it tampers that sort of expectation if he plays in this game. So that's how I would go. Pretty much first team, but then have the youngsters to come on and get that experience. I think them three in particular in the under-21s have really, when I watch them, I've watched them play quite a few times this season. And you can kind of look at them and go, if we manage these correctly, these actually could be players that impact our first 11, which is exactly what you want.
And give us a score prediction, Luke.
I'm going to go 3-0.
3-0 Spurs. I'll take it, not Doncaster.
Yes. Saying all that, and then I think we lose.
Yeah. Lovely. Thanks, mate. Ricky, same to you. What do you think the lineup's going to be? And give us a score prediction.
Do you know what? Very similar. Very similar. I would definitely play Kinski. I'd go Spence on the right for the same reasons. Porro's played so many games. Your doggy needs another game to get his rhythm up. I'd probably go Danzo and Van der Ven for the first 60 and then bring on a Davies or someone like, just so that you've got a first teamer and he is our cheat code. So for the first 60 minutes, let's get those 3 goals up first and then you can take him off and let Davies finish the game. I would probably midfield wise, I'd go Bentancur and Gray as the 2, and then I would go. See, this is the trouble, is because Johnson would go on the right for me, and then I would love Odobert to go on the left just so that he had a second game, just to get this rhythm going. But I would, at the same time, I'm kind of in 2 minds about Tell and letting Tell try out for the left-hand side. But I think Tell would probably either play in... Oh, I don't know. He'd probably play in the 9. And then like you gents said there, like maybe get Xavi to play as well, to be the number 10 in there. First game, get him to start in the 10 and let him work his magic. And then again, bringing him off on a 60 for one of the young guns. But yeah, that's roughly where I'd go. Johnson needs to start. I would love, like I say, I'd love Odobert to get another game just to, let's just start seeing what he's about. But at the same time, I'm struggling because I'd like to see Tell on the left as well. But yeah, that's where I'd go with it. If Kolomawani is fit, he's either got to start or he's got to come off the bench for at least a half an hour. And then it's it's the mix and matcher. But at the same time, we can't underestimate. We're not Man United, so let's not do a Man United and underestimate a side. We've still got to go out there very professionally. We can't think that the game is won before we've turned up. Those ones that do come into the side, they need to grab their opportunity. Like we always say, whoever comes into the side, when the side is rotating, it's up to you to grab your chance. It's up to you to, nail your colours to the mast and kind of say, look, I'm here. This is my position. And put the pressure on the manager to start him in that position come first team games and put the pressure on, as in from us fans, because the media would be out there. The clips would be out there, and then you'd have all of us going, no, he's got to start, he's got to have a go. So take your opportunity, gents. Those that come in, take your opportunity. Make it a difficult decision for the manager to make on the weekends or on Champions League nights. And prediction, I'm gonna stick with Luke, man. I'm gonna go with the 3-0. It was a
3-0.
Good shout.
Nice one. Well, I was gonna go 3-0. Again, so I'm gonna go 4. I'm gonna go 4 now. Perhaps a bit bold, eh? Kate, finally with you, who do you want to see play and give us a score prediction?
I'm kind of the same as where Luke is. I don't want us to go in and just throw in a load of kids and underestimate this team and go out early because, we all know what happens when that happens and the meltdown that ensues afterwards. I think we've got to take it seriously and show them some respect. I also agree that I'd like to see Odobert carry on, because I think the trouble with Tell and Odobert, to give them their props, they've not really had a run of games for us to really see what they can do. So, people have written off Tell. I'm guilty of saying I'm not sure Odebert's good enough, but until they get that run of games, we're not going to know. So I'd rather see him play. The striker position is difficult. Obviously, Richarlison, we can't afford at the minute for him to get injured. We don't know if Mawani's going to be okay. Is Scarlett good enough? Could we try Brennan as a 9? I'm not sure what he's going to do there, but I do expect Archie Gray, Sarr, and hopefully Javi to start in the 10 to see how he goes. And I think Kinski will come in, and I think it rests both Van der Ven and Romero and play Davis and Danso. So it's a mixture of both what Luke and Ricky said. I'm going to be outrageous, and I'm going to go 5-0 to Spurs.
Get in, Kate. No scores on this show.
Because I was going to say 3, and then you said Nick the 4, and I thought, right, I'm just going to go out there and say 5-0. But I think it's going to be a weird game where it's kind of like set piece goals. So, might get defenders get a couple of goals rather than an all-out sort of striker. So, yeah, I'm going to be outrageous. I think the spirit of my husband has just taken over me, because 5-0 literally just came out of my mouth. But we should be dispatching this type of team. We're not, we've all got a bit of PTSD since Postecoglou in the league, not in the Europa League. So we're worried, but we should be dispatching these. If we show the same level of respect, play the right team without sort of making too many changes, I think it should be a comfortable win.
Let's hope so. Well, we've all gone for a Spurs win. So let's hope for a Spurs win. Kate, thank you very much for joining us today. Where can people find you if they want to interact with you on social media? You can find me and my husband at Kate and Jimbo. We do lunchtime shows, amongst other things. It's quite a chilled show. Jimbo's like Ricky, thinks Tottenham are going to beat everyone. I've said 5-0. He'll probably say 6-0. Because that's Jim. But just if you want to have a chill and sometimes watch the occasional domestic argument about football, then come on over to Kate and Jimbo. But thank you, as always, for having me on. It's always a pleasure to stream with you all. And thank you very much. And of course, you do a few videos on the channel as well, you and Jimbo. So we'd love to see a domestic on the channel. If you want to film your next one, that'd be great. Okay. Well, you can hold me to that now. Right, I am. Luke, lovely to meet you today. Tell everyone where they can find you and talk about your channel.
Yeah, thanks again for having me on. The domestic might be tonight because Ricky's just told Kate that she's right all the time. So when she goes and tells Jim, I reckon the domestic might come after this. But so I've got a channel on YouTube, X, Instagram. It's all the same. Spotlight on Spurs. I know it's not spelt right, but I couldn't get it in the X handle, and I had to make sure it was still correct. So I've gone with the American light version. Okay. Before anyone mentions it. I got a YouTube channel. We go live at the moment. We're just doing it on Thursdays, talking all things Spurs, having all different people on to kind of give different opinions. As we mentioned earlier, there's very few facts in football, and most of us don't know everything. Harry Kane being the prime example. I didn't want him anywhere near our first 11, and look how that turned out. So, we just go on. We have a chat. We talk all things Spurs. Cover the whole week, and then if you're quite relaxed, it doesn't get too crazy or anything like that. It's quite a relaxed and quite a good discussion. So it'd be great to see anyone over there, and obviously brilliant for coming on. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Can I just say Luke's channel is quite new and it's excellent and it's flying. So do go over and subscribe to him because it's a really good channel. Yeah, took the words out of my mouth. Thanks a lot, Luke. See you again soon. And finally, Ricky, of course, where can people find you? I think they know where to find you. You got a podcast now. You're filming a new film shortly, aren't you? So tell everyone about that. I'm everywhere now, mate. I'm everywhere. Bloody hell. So yes. Okay, film first. Yeah. So for the next 2 weeks or so, maybe 3, I'll be filming a new horror film, my first ever horror film. So I'm looking forward to that. Should be fun. I might miss a few games. I take it no mask required, Ricky. You
See, now I know why there's domestics, Kate. Do you know what I mean, girl? All right, I haven't mentioned
But
the
Ricky,
red
you did
glasses
say
all night.
you did
I
say
haven't mentioned the red-rimmed glasses all night. And
They're
now you want
actually
to come at me.
purple.
Yeah.
They're purple.
All right, listen, they look red on camera. I'm not having it. All right, Jimbo, sort it out, mate. Okay. But yes, should be fun. Should be fun. It's I'll miss a few games through that, but you can find me on X at Ricky J Norwood, on Instagram official Ricky Norwood, and then like everybody else as well. I've got a podcast as well with my good friend, one of my besties, one of my brothers, Mr. Darren Hart, and it's called Tea Talk and Tottenham. So we've just launched the latest episode, so that's out right now. So if you type in Tea Talk and Tottenham, one word, no spaces whatsoever, into YouTube, then you will find us. The reason I say that is because if you put the spaces, it starts looking for tea, and then it starts looking for talkers, and then you might get a few Tottenham random videos. So you got to chuck it in all as one until the algorithm recognizes us. But yes, it's just a bit like Luke. We look back on the last 10 to 14 days of what's happened in Tottenham, and it's just two best friends having an hour and going through it. No real dramas, no real domestics, but a lot of giggles along the way. So you can find me in all of those places. And of course, Cameo as well. So I'm on Cameo. I'm doing messages on Cameo. So if you've got a birthday, you need a well wish, you want some acting advice, whatever you need, I'm on there as well. And you can find those links in my socials. So always a pleasure being on with you beautiful people. Luke, you've been a diamond tonight. Kate, you're always a diamond. Craig, you've been fantastic host once again, my friend, and all you beautiful people around the world that love and breathe Tottenham. It's been a pleasure being on with you beautiful people, and I won't see you for a couple of weeks, but I'll be back real soon.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Ricky. Well, that is the end of the show tonight. Spurs not a disaster today, getting a point, second in the table. I think we'd have all took that at the beginning of the season, wouldn't we? So we're going to go now. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. See you again soon, and come on, you Spurs.
Come on.